Excellencies, partners, friends, colleagues, welcome to Moldova Business Week 2024. To those who are in Moldova for the first time, also welcome to our country. I know that there are quite few people that flew into Moldova for this event. When we sat together quite a few months ago thinking, why do we want to organize for the 9th time Moldova Business Week, we came to two objectives. The first one was to make sure that this is the time when we are showcasing the opportunities, the potential, the talent that Moldova has, the entrepreneurs that there are in Moldova. For this, what we are organizing within the next days, it's 18 events that will be running within 5 days, so it's actually a week of events in the Republic of Moldova, and not only Chișinău, because Moldova is not only Chișinău, and business in Moldova is not only Chișinău. We will be, of course, welcoming you today in Chișinău, and there will be events every single day in our capital city, but you are also very welcome and invited to come to Edinets, Ungheni, and Belts, and we have the transportation as well arranged for all of them. In the back of your badges, I don't have mine, but in the back of your badges, the first QR code you will find with the full agenda for all of the 18 events, and the second QR code is helping us to achieve the second objective we had for Moldova Business Week, and that is networking. We know that there are people from more than 23 countries that have registered for Moldova Business Week. We have more than 1,000 registrations for all of the 18 events, so make sure to register on Umbrella, the networking platform, so that any one of you can reach out to any one of you and ensure that there is networking and synergies opportunities that we are exploring. All of this really wouldn't have been possible to be organized just by one institution as Invest Moldova agency. That is why the event is organized in partnership with more than 10 business associations and institutional partners whom you can meet within the next days at the events that we are organizing. It was very funny to hear from one of them that it was a smart move from our side to engage basically everyone in this event, because now nobody, at least out of them, is going to complain, but all of them are trying to make sure that we're providing the best possible platform, again, for showcasing Moldova's potential, but also for the networking opportunities. Also, for sure, this event wouldn't have been possible without the support of the development partners, so I want to make sure that I take a second to thank them as well. If we can move please to the next slide. Without their support, this complex event that we are running within these days for sure wouldn't have been possible. So I would like to thank the European Union, the World Bank, GIZ, Switzerland, UNDP, Optim, Ukraine Moldova American Enterprise Fund, USAID, Embassy of Sweden, and UKAID. But, for sure, I would like to also highlight that this event is supported, organized, and coordinated by the government of the Republic of Moldova through Invest Moldova, but not only, through several institutions that have been engaged to make sure that this is one of the most efficient and productive events for business that Moldova has and can provide. Saying this, I would like to invite on stage, talking about the government, I would like to invite on stage my boss, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Moldova, Mr. Dorin Recean.
And then the real boss is people and businesses. Thank you very much, Natalia. Look, first of all, thank you very much for coming to Moldova. Until very recently, Moldova was not very well known, or was known for mostly mediocre things. And this is what we want to achieve, is to change the perception of the people so that people around the world, business people around the world, discover Moldova. And this week is meant for you to go around to speak to the people, to speak to your potential partners here, and to explore the opportunities. I'd like to draw attention to 9 things that you should follow in order to come here and to feel motivated to come here. First is market access. We are opening EU markets as we are integrating in European Union, and we have access to some of the Asian markets. That was number one. Number two is capital market access. Right now, we're in the process of integrating the capital market of Moldova with the capital market of Bucharest, which is one of the most vibrant and dynamic capital markets in the region, and correspondingly, you can source capital from the region as well. Number three is on-demand human resource development. Universities are now concentrated to produce those human resources that the industry and the businesses need. More to that, we implemented efficiently the so-called dual vocational training that allows the government to sponsor programs that will produce for you the skilled workforce within 3 to 6 months. Number four is institutional efficiency. The market rules here are competitive. The market rules here are more and more aligned to EU acquis. And the other thing in institutional efficiency is the fact that we are debureaucratizing the economy and digitizing it. And when I say digitizing, it's not just moving from paper to the computer, but doing a business re-engineering of the government processes and how the government services the businesses and the people. I don't mean to say that everything is ideal. What I mean to say is that government builds an agility within the system to adapt to the needs of the businesses. Number five is the development infrastructure that we have. And we have, from one side, the Moldova IT Park platform for IT, research and development, and business process operations. And you've seen some of the numbers in the intro to the event. But also the industrial platform that you have seen. The most important advantage on this platform is not only taxation, but the simplicity of the regime. The other thing that we care about, and this is number 6, is government-sponsored SME financing. Why? Because we're thinking about your suppliers and how you can help and how the government can help build the capabilities of your suppliers. Number 7 is that research and development budgets are now directed toward the collaboration between industry and academia. We emphasize this, and we emphasize this also in the research and development projects that we are doing with our EU friends. Number 8 is we are going to run and already running large infrastructure projects in energy, roads infrastructure, railroads infrastructure, and multimodal transportation and logistics. And 9, this is reconstruction of Ukraine that is coming. Just briefly, I will mention the sectors that we are having competitive advantage and are targeting as an investment. This is IT and business services, pharmaceuticals, energy and electrification, green, electronics, manufacturing, and high-value agriculture. I'd like to thank the European Union and each member state, United States, UK, Japan, other countries that are friendly to Moldova and are boosting our capabilities to develop and to create opportunities for the business around the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. And speaking of the partners, I would like to next invite on stage the head of the EU delegation to the Republic of Moldova, Mr. Yanis Mazeiks.
Dear Prime Minister, dear Deputy Prime Minister, Excellencies, dear participants, It is my pleasure to address you today at the main business event of the year. The European Union and the Republic of Moldova have already a very strong partnership. And this is based on the DCFTA and association agreement that have been in place for 10 years already. And this is the basis of our economic cooperation in particular. 2/3 of Moldovan exports go to the European Union. 50% of Moldovan exports come from the European Union. And very importantly, European Union is the source of 80% of foreign direct investment in the country. And all of these come from the framework of the association agreement and the DCFTA. But many things have changed since then. And in particular, what has been important is the path of Republic of Moldova to a candidate country and to a future member of the European Union. This has also changed our thinking in the European Union, and it has also changed our action in the European Union, because it is one perspective if you are dealing with a partner, and it's another perspective if you're dealing with a future member. And perhaps, I hope, this is also something that can encourage the international business to change their thinking and their action when it comes to the Republic of Moldova, because it's not just a country with this or that competitive advantage, but it has also the competitive advantage of being a future member of the EU. So I'm sure that the EU accession process will create even more opportunities for doing successful business in Moldova as Moldova integrates further with EU and its markets. The EU accession comes also with many challenges and many reforms that will require the work of the authorities and of the business and the citizens of the country. And this means that the country needs to function better for the benefit of the citizens and for the benefit of the citizens, of the business. And I would particularly highlight the importance of the justice sector reform, which is key to improving the business environment and to attract new investments. We know that this is a difficult process. We're supporting this, and I'm sure that the authorities will successfully manage to bring it to fruition. Unfortunately, Russia's unjustified war of aggression against Ukraine has severely impacted also on Republic of Moldova, and this has also been coupled with the impact of the energy crisis, which in fact the country has already largely successfully overcome, and we are expecting that there will be also the economic recovery starting already from this year, irrespective of these external challenges. And we also saw that external investors during that period were refraining from coming to Moldova, so I'm very much encouraged by the fact that so many of you are here today. What is important, again, is that the European Union has been with the Republic of Moldova side by side, hand in hand during these crises, first as our obligation as a partner, but also now as our partner with a future member state. We have supported Moldova so that Moldovan exporters can further export unlimited quantities of agricultural products to the EU markets. We have liberalized the road transportation services, and we are working on implementing further trade facilitation instruments. Participation of Moldova in EU flagship programs such as Single Market Program, Digital Europe Program, and Horizon Europe will inevitably further strengthen the links between Moldova and the EU, and then therefore also increasing the competitiveness of Moldova's economy. Support to the private sector development with focus on green and digital economic transition is a priority for us in our assistance to Moldova. It will build on a already proved success of EU for Business approach, integrating three main pillars of action: access to finance, business development services, and business enabling environment. And then I would like to thank the organizers for this very promising event. I thank all the business community representatives for being here. I would like to call all the investors who have not yet come to Moldova to come here and invest. You are investing in a future member state of the European Union, and I'm sure that your investments will multiply. Mulțumesc. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maizeix. Alongside European Union, we've always found a trustful partner in the United States. That is why I would like to invite on stage Mrs. Maria Longhi from the US State Department, coordinating the US assistance to Europe and Eurasia.
Thank you. Mr. Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, and all of you amazing amount of people from the private sector. It's a pleasure to address this gathering as the United States celebrates our partnership of over 30 years between the United States and Moldova. Over these decades, we have worked to support Moldova's transition towards a strong, independent, and market-oriented democracy. Moldova has made remarkable strides towards European Union accession, especially during these last 4 years, including, impressively, their beginning formal negotiations in June. U.S. assistance, including more than $874 million since February 2022, has played a significant role in advancing Moldova's rule of law, anti-corruption, energy, and economic progress in line with EU standards. We applaud Moldova's efforts on rule of law reform, including improved judicial and prosecutorial vetting, as this helps to lay the foundation for economic growth and prosperity. The embassy's commercial work has grown dramatically over the past 2 years, demonstrating Moldova's attractiveness to the private sector. We continue to receive interest from U.S. firms across all sectors, from IT to food products to security. They remain impressed by the Moldovans' dedication to entrepreneurship and very strong work ethic. Through our Department of Commerce's Commercial Law Development Program, we're supporting Moldova's EU aspirations through corporate governance reform with a keen focus on transparency and anti-corruption practices. USAID continues to work closely with the Moldovan government to help rebuild resilient institutions that enforce laws fairly and equitably. USAID is playing a vital role in Moldova's economic and democratic process, helping Moldova attract private sector investment, drive inclusive growth, and create a more business-friendly environment. The United States Development Finance Corporation, or DFC, has increased its investments in Moldova in several areas, including through loan support agreements. This is helping to stimulate over $29 million in lending by Moldovan financial institutions to local small, medium, and enterprises in areas such as energy and ICT. These agreements are allowing these firms and individuals to improve their energy efficiency, affecting cost savings and benefiting energy use in Moldova. These funds have also supported loans to build Moldova's first IT park to serve as a hub for IT companies, technology entrepreneurs, and startup companies. DFC is also providing political risk insurance to energy firms to help diversify Moldova's energy supply by promoting access to alternatives to Russian natural gas. The DFC has underscored its interest in expanding support for private sector projects, and I encourage you to engage with them to explore potential opportunities. All of this U.S. assistance and investment comes at a time when Moldova is at a critical juncture. As the world embraces digital technologies, Moldova's commitment to digitization marks a significant leap forward. This push not only enhances Moldova's global image, but also positions it as a dynamic destination for foreign investment. By building secure digital infrastructure, Moldova is streamlining government institutions, increasing transparency, and improving public administration, making it easier for businesses to thrive. And the results are clear. Moldova's ICT and manufacturing sectors have become key drivers of the economy, laying the groundwork for sustainable growth, and we have supported this transformation proudly, helping Moldova pivot high-value export markets and toward a vibrant digital ecosystem. For example, Moldova's IT park, which now includes 1,800 companies, has been instrumental in establishing Moldova as an attractive tech hub, driving Moldova's digital ecosystem and the IT sector success. And we've been very proud to have supported this. In 2023, the turnover of the Moldova IT Park residents reached an impressive $740 million, with sales revenue tripling over the last 5 years. And more broadly speaking, outside of the ICT sector, the U.S. Embassy works closely with AmCham and other business associations to encourage the government to continue its efforts to reduce barriers to investment, including building a more open and transparent business enabling environment. USAID works with government and businesses to support this on a regular basis. Separately, the Moldovan government has made enormous strides in decreasing red tape and burdensome business regulations, and recognizes that ultimately the importance of a foreign direct investment for sustainable economic growth and poverty reduction. Moldova's success will be determined by its continued investment and engagement, particularly from you, the private sector. The U.S. government, through many of our agencies and initiatives, is proud to support Moldova's journey. I am confident that going forward, thanks to the partnerships and investments we forged today, we will see a Moldova that is increasingly independent, competitive, resistant to malign influence, and closely aligned towards Euro-Atlantic partnership. I thank you and wish you a very successful week with all of the activities that are planned. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Longi. We are concluding the welcoming speeches with Mr. Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Economic Development and Digitalization, Mr. Dumitru Alaiba. Dumitru.
Good morning. I would normally start by telling you welcome to sunny Moldova, but given the weather outside, I would really be out of tune. So, dear guests, welcome to Moldova. Welcome back to Moldova. Mr. Prime Minister, ministers, I see a couple of ministers, ambassadors, thank you for making it, and welcome to Moldova Business Week. We will use these few days to share our vision and what can Moldova offer as a business and investment destination. Moldova is undergoing rapid change. It is perhaps the first time in its history that our country is bravely looking into the future, firm on its European path. While there is work ahead and the road is not short, make no mistake, Moldova is the next EU member state, with a strong, diversified, efficient, innovative, open and free economy, part of the European single market, and this is our vision. And we want you to join us, be part of this vision, be part of this ride together with us, be part of this big change that the country is undergoing. You would be part of something so much bigger by being here, investing, supporting Moldova and Moldova's economy in these historic times for our country, with a responsive, pro-business and reform-minded government as your honest and open partner. But apart from values, there are clear reasons why Moldova is actually a pretty good place to invest and do business and, yes, make money. And this is why we will have this conversation during this week, during this event. We've put in place much needed business climate reforms and keep advancing this agenda with a sense of maximum urgency. Entrepreneurship is the cornerstone of the new economy we're building. Because bureaucracy breeds corruption and discourages private initiative, we took on a massive deregulation agenda that is already saving entrepreneurs the equivalent of at least 0.5% of GDP every year. In 2024 alone, we have cut over 20% of the reporting burden. We have one of the most progressive company legislation in Europe, pro-startup, pro-investment, with a maximum freedom, enabling growth and investment. While there is still much work to do, our message is clear: Moldova is no place for bureaucracy. We are building a fully digital economy. We doubled in only 1 year the number of digital services available online for entrepreneurs. And this year, 80% of all interaction between state and entrepreneur is digital. And this is good economics too, really. Digitalization saves Moldovan companies the equivalent of at least another 0.4% of GDP every year. On taxation, we are among the few countries on the continent that at the moment has zero income tax on retained earnings, and we only tax profits distributed as dividends. And this is saving businesses an additional 0.5% of GDP every year. For the IT and BPO sector, Moldova has the most attractive offer on the continent, when that's without too much modesty. 7% single tax that you have also seen in the introduction, and that we'll cover extensively during these days. And the sector is really booming, and will keep growing. Human capital is the driving force of an economy based on innovation. We have competitive technical education that is producing talent, and we keep investing in education to respond to the needs of the business environment. To offer our economy access to talent and workforce, we have removed work permits for citizens of 47 countries: the European Union, USA, the United Kingdom, EFTA countries, Canada, Turkey, Ukraine, and many others. I like to say that Moldova is not a market of 2 million people, which is roughly our population. It is a market of 500 million people. Moldova has unprecedented access to Western markets through free trade agreements with the European Union, EFTA countries, United Kingdom, Turkey, and many others. And our experts are rapidly shifting towards the West. Only some 15 years ago, 70% of Moldova's experts were headed towards Russia and CIS. Now the situation is completely reversed. A tectonic transformation for our entire economy at a speed that has no match. An example of how fast Moldova and its entrepreneurs and its business can adapt. In only a couple of years, we have deregulated, digitalized, opened markets more than ever before, and that again, sorry for being too immodest maybe. But these and other interventions have supported Moldova's economy in these uneasy times. While the war that Russia is waging in neighboring Ukraine is affecting our economy, our challenge is to grow in spite of adversity. To grow faster, Moldova needs investment, and our reform agenda is laser focused on this goal, while addressing the structural bottlenecks of our economy to attract more investment, maximize productivity and efficiency. We're taking steps to build up a modern capital market that will help capital flow freely in the economy, strengthen our financial sector, and offer more opportunities for investment and growth. To boost trade, we are investing in logistics and infrastructure in order to support the needs of a growing economy. We are advancing discussions with our partners to launch investment guarantees in order to make Moldova even more attractive. And we are launching the first state aid scheme in line with EU norms to attract investments in manufacturing and drive industrialization in high growth sectors such as electronic, automotive, pharmaceuticals, optics, construction, and many others. As a government, we have taken on one task: to offer each company the freedom to excel. Moldova is on a transformative journey, and I'm confident, in spite of momentary challenges, we are entering a period of fast growth driven by economic reforms and European integration. Other countries in the past have made this exact journey before us, and if you want to see what awaits Moldova in the next decade, you need only to look at the entire Central and Eastern Europe and half of the continent. Our message is simple, and it was really articulated very well by our central bank governor. Investing in Moldova now means not regretting it 5 years from now. Thank you very much, and let's have a very productive week.
Thank you, Mr. Alaiba. And we are ready to dive into the content of the event. What awaits you in the next almost 2 hours is 4 chapters of the event. We will start with a presentation and a small panel on the soft power of Moldova. We will continue with the governmental panel that will have as parts a couple of ministers and state secretaries that will tell you the agenda of the government when it comes to what are the things that the government is doing to make the business in Moldova friendlier, the business environment. We will proceed with the presentation done by myself on what is the pitch presentation of Moldova, what are the investment opportunities, and we will end with probably one of the most exciting presentation and panels, and that is the panel with the investors, 4 investors that have chosen Moldova as their investments ground within the last year or a couple of years. So next, I would like to invite on stage my colleague, Irina Tolstousov, Deputy Director at Invest Moldova Agency, who will present to you how did we do it that Moldova is finally on the map of one of the most important international ratings when it comes to soft power. Irina.
Thank you. Indeed, it's a special panel. My boss and then her boss said about the importance of country's perception and awareness. And until 2024, Moldova was one of the few countries in Europe not included in the prestigious Global Soft Power Index. What it meant for us is that we were lacking information on how to strategically promote Republic of Moldova and the awareness of its location among other countries. But in 2024, this has changed, and I'm proud to say that Republic of Moldova, among all other countries, was researched in an extensive survey of more than 100,000 citizens all over the globe. We have now the information. It's not only interesting, it's essential in order for us to understand how Moldova is positioned internationally and get those insights relevant for all of us on how to position it globally. I have with me today 2 representatives of Brand Finance, and I will start with the chairman and CEO, David Haig. David, are you here with us?
I am, yes. Hello.
Hello. I mentioned to the audience about the terminology of soft power, about the ranking, which Brand Finance does for more than 20 years. But could you explain more the definition of soft power, hard power, what is its essence, and how they can differ?
Well, first of all, let me thank you, the Prime Minister, and everyone who's there for listening to us. My colleague Conrad and I will try and explain how this can help Moldova. The thing is, there are 3 types of power, and this was expounded by Professor Nye back in the 60s at Harvard. Hard power, which we all know. Hard power is basically what we're seeing far too much of in the world. Economic power, which is done in a very aggressive way. But thirdly, soft power. Soft power is, to give the definition, it's a nation's ability to influence the preferences and behaviors of various actors in the international arena, which includes states, corporations, communities, and publics, through attraction or persuasion rather than coercion. So you get people to do things you want them to do, and it's there to benefit your economy. Now, if you look at big countries like the UK and Germany and America, they have been doing this for hundreds of years, and so they've got a lot of accumulated soft power behind them. Smaller, newer nations are doing it from scratch, but many have learned the lessons and are actively developing their soft power. Let me just give you the infrastructure that we refer to when we are doing our research. First of all, there has to be familiarity. And I think one of the features that comes across is that a lot of people around the world are not yet fully familiar with Moldova. So there's tasks to be done there. The second thing is you look at various pillars that would determine people's views of a country. You look at its products and services, you know, like the wine that's coming from Moldova and other various products. You look at international relations, its ability to help and influence outcomes on the diplomatic stage, the quality of education and science, the depth of culture and heritage, the quality of governance and good government and leadership, the freedom and quality of media and communications, whether there is a sustainability agenda, and finally, people and values. Now, for each one of these, external parties will take a view about the country, and on the basis of that, they will then decide what the reputation of the country is, and in their minds, you know, what its influence is over their decisions. And then on the basis of that, they will make decisions to either invest in that country, take a trip to that country, live in the country, study in the country, or whatever it might be, all of which have a very favourable economic benefit. Now, a lot of this is thinking about countries as though they are brands. And a lot of people scorn that idea. They say, well, countries are not brands. But the reality is they need marketing techniques just as much as corporate brands do. And this was the insight that we discovered 25 years ago when we started following countries. Countries need to put their message out there, because one of the things that we were just listening to a moment ago was all the real policy initiatives and real things that you are doing. So the reality and the performance is one thing. The perceptions out there in the world may not be the same. And therefore, when you get that disconnect, you don't reap the full benefit from all the good things that you are doing. And if we look at a number of countries, small countries like Bhutan, like Sri Lanka, other small countries that have been doing it for longer, like Singapore and the UAE, they have marshaled their resources to get this framework working well so that it helps their economy. So that is what soft power is all about.
Okay, thank you. But how does the world in 2024 look? I assume that all of us, we see more the hard power, the military power. We know what is happening currently in the world. What is your impression? Is there room for soft power?
Well, it's very regrettable what's going on in the world in quite a lot of different theatres, not just in your own, but the world is much too aggressive a place. Yes, I do. I think, at the nadir of the world, when hard power is being thrown around far too much, soft power comes into its own. Because let's face it, soft power will have to fix a lot of the conflicts that are going on. But then in the background, countries need to marshal their soft power in order to maximize their foreign direct investment, their tourism receipts, people's confidence to live in a place, and so on, and the products and services they buy from it. And Moldova clearly has many, many attractions and advantages. It now has a task of getting that message out there. And I know that Conrad is going to talk a little bit more about that in his speech in a moment.
Okay, thank you so much then. I wish you a lovely day ahead, and we'll meet each other in London 2025 when you'll be launching the new soft power index, and we'll see how countries were positioned.
Thank you, and have a good conference.
Thank you. We have understand the definitions and essences of soft power, hard power. It's time to move from the international audience and zoom in into Moldova. I have with me Konrad Jagodzinski. He's the Place Brand Director of Brand Finance. Konrad, I'd rather you start with telling us how this survey is made. I've mentioned to the audience that it's 100,000 participants all over the world. It seems like blow my minding. How do you really do it?
Thank you so much for the invitation, Irina. Thank you all for coming to listen. We're going to go through a few of the highlights of the report that we prepared for Invest Moldova earlier this year. It's a soft power report looking at perceptions of the country all around the world and zooming into particular markets that are important to Moldova. And that helps us understand not just what people think of Moldova in those places, but also match that against what's important to people in those markets, and in that way identify opportunities. So let me start, as you said, to go through how the index is made. To start with, it's not just Moldova that's in this study. It's a study of all the 193 member states of the United Nations. And we're very happy that it's finally all of the members of the United Nations in this study. We've been running it for 5 years, and there are many more nations all around the world taking advantage of these insights, from Australia and New Zealand through South Africa to Peru and Uruguay, and here in Europe from Britain, Switzerland, Sweden, Finland, to countries in the region, Estonia, Ukraine, and now also Moldova. So there's plenty of nations that are forward-looking, that want to put their best foot forward, and that are using data to underpin and sense-check the way that they are marketing their nations. And that's also what Moldova is doing. It is in this club. Irina, you mentioned the survey sample. It's even larger. It's 170,000 respondents in 100 markets all around the world. We have been growing this study for the past 5 years. David mentioned that we look at familiarity with the nation brand, we look at its reputation, its influence, and we look at 35 nation brand attributes, 5 dimensions of the attractiveness of the country to investors, to businesses, to students, tourists, etc. So it's a very big study. It's in fact the world's most comprehensive study looking at perceptions of nation brands. So that gives us a good foundation, a good theoretical framework to analyze what Moldova is perceived as all around the world.
I always mention to those which are not acknowledged with this survey that the survey starts by asking one person, do you know about this country? Yes, no. If that person says yes, then he or she will continue responding to the rest of the questions.
Exactly. It's a survey of people that claim at least familiarity with a given nation. We don't want them to be guessing things about Moldova. We want them to say what they think about the country that they know. And it's important to note that we sense-checked whether the data actually has any impact on what David was talking about, on the attraction of business, on the improvement on trade, on the attraction of workforce and students, as well as tourists into the country. And we were very pleased to see that, in fact, we've done the survey in such a way that it actually does make sense. And it does correspond, and there is a very strong correlation with economic outcomes that come into the country. Soft power, as you can see, has an impact on all of those 4 sectors. The impact is stronger in trade or in talent, which are more democratic segments, if you like. Anyone can go and work in a study or work in a country or study in a country. Anyone can buy products and services from a foreign country. When it comes to investment, that relationship, that correlation is perhaps a bit weaker, 34%, but it's still quite a lot when you think that there are so many other aspects that investors, as you always know, take into account before investing in a country. It's the tax regime, it's the incentives, it's the geography, it's whether you've just invested there last year, because obviously you're not going to invest every year if you don't have the resources to do so. So even so, you could say those numbers tell us that investment attraction is explained in 1/3 by the perceptions of the country, by its soft power, which is a really big thing to take into account. And we're now looking at where Moldova stands in this study. It ranks 118th out of 193 nations in the world. But it is 10th among the new countries, the over 70 countries that we added into the study this year. You might say, well, it's among the other nations within the region, somewhere in the middle of the table. That's correct. But the devil's in the detail, and we go into the detail in a second. But even when you look at the scores represented in this ranking, you'll see that scores for Moldova and scores for other nations in the region are very similar. What that means is that there is a lot of competition, and there is really an equal balance of what Moldova can represent and what the others are representing. And this is why it's important to carry on doing the good work, telling the story about Moldova. And it also points to the fact that there is an opportunity to overtake those nations in the ranking. More importantly, it means that Moldova is competitive, and it is within its reach to attract more investment, more tourists than some of the other countries in the region.
And in fact, it represents a benchmark. We will see next year and the year after how we position in terms of our activities within the country, right?
Exactly. Hopefully, the scores will be going up each year. It's not something we can guarantee, but it's definitely something we're looking forward to. And looking at the detail of where Moldova stands and what people around the world think about it, its strengths. First of all, we've noticed that it ranks well for education and science, 81st in the world, compared to 118th in the overall index. So that's much higher. and in particular on technology and innovation, 69th in the world. So that aspect of Moldova's investment opportunity is definitely coming through, and people around the world are recognizing Moldova for the IT sector. Sustainable future, environmental sustainability, that's another area where Moldova is well recognized, especially in investments in green energy and technologies, 63rd in the world. It also ranks high for helpful to countries in need, affairs are followed closely, and friendliness. And that points to the opportunity for Moldova to position itself in international relations as the country that is obviously affected by Russian aggression against Ukraine, but also a country that is responding in its own way to this conflict and forging its own path towards the European Union.
I think this friendly also mentions a lot about our diaspora abroad. There's a huge number, and wherever we go abroad, there's always someone saying that he has a colleague, work colleague, then someone he studied with, and there's always this positive perception about someone from Moldova.
That's definitely coming through. And then finally, there's encouraging performance in products and brands the world loves, 76th position in the world, and we all might know what that main product is, and if you haven't tried Moldovan wine yet, then I recommend you do have a glass later on today. When it comes to weaknesses, because it's not all roses in that country image of Moldova within the study, we see that the main challenge is low familiarity with Moldova, especially outside of Europe, but also relatively low reputation and influence, which is the case for many smaller countries. But there are various things that can be done to alleviate that, and obviously that's what the study speaks to. When it comes to recommendation of the nation, its attractiveness in investment, trade, talent, and tourism, we're seeing that scores are around average. They're slightly better for trade and tourism, which is encouraging. They're slightly worse for the other sectors. So we need to be pushing towards, there are no negative perceptions of Moldova as such when it comes to this, but there aren't enough promoters of Moldova, enough advocates for it out there in the global general public. And when it comes to culture and heritage, especially the destination, heritage, and the food of the country, the scores are high, they are recognized, but it is an extremely competitive market. It's an extremely competitive segment. So it's not just important to be scoring well in this area, it's important to be scoring better than others, especially those that you are competing with. So that's another area to look at to improve tourism opportunities. And then finally, business and trade. I mentioned that for products and brands, Moldova is well recognized for the strength of the economy, for ease of doing business, not yet. And we obviously heard how much Moldova is doing in this space. So it is all just about bridging that gap between the reality you've already got and the reality of opportunity and of potential that we're all here to experience. But at the same time, there's that gap to bridge with perceptions around the world. And perceptions of business and trade are obviously extremely important for improving soft power of a country, improving its economic performance in effect. And those perceptions are key drivers of both reputation and influence. And comparing Moldova to other nations in the region, I just mentioned that the scores aren't really that different, that there isn't really that much that Moldova has to do to overtake some of those nations. And that's sort of visually represented here. When you look at the scores in orange, it's the benchmark country. In blue, that's Moldova's scores. For Serbia, Albania, and North Macedonia, they are pretty much the same. So it's not that Moldova is behind any of them. They are all pretty much on par. And it's just a matter of just bridging that gap, making that jump. A country that Moldova can definitely learn from is Georgia. It also has a challenge with familiarity around the world, but those familiar with Georgia have extremely positive goodwill towards the country. They are very eager to promote it, to advocate for it. And that's definitely a position in which Moldova can be very soon, especially with all the efforts you're undertaking. And even with Ukraine, you can see that obviously they have more of an influence in international relations and in media and communications. That's where the orange bit is sticking out of the blue bit, if you like. But on the other metrics, actually Moldova is doing as well as Ukraine or better. And that also is an important lesson than a country that's much bigger, obviously in a very dire situation, much more dire than any other of its neighbors. But at the same time, it just positions Moldova as an equal partner to all of those countries in the region. And if we wanted to dive into the different markets to understand better what people there think about Moldova, we looked at 5 in particular. Obviously, there's many more countries that you come from that Invest Moldova works with, but we focused on those 5 just to get a better understanding of what they
Germany,
think there.
UK, Netherlands, France.
And Turkey. And starting with Germany, among all the key markets that we looked at, Moldova's soft power rank is highest there. Moldova, I believe, ranks around the 60th mark in Germany, so that's much better than the 118th rank globally. It's well recognized for education and science, for sustainability, for tech innovation, green energy, and ease of doing business. So it's definitely the work that we've been doing with German investors, with German businesses that are coming through in the study. But it's also being recognized for support for Ukrainian refugees and for its role within the upheaval within the region as a stabilizing force, as a safe and secure country for others. And that's something that's coming through in many of the other markets. You probably think, listening to this, well, that's nothing new. Obviously, that's the case. We know we're recognized in Germany. We know that our efforts in supporting Ukrainian refugees would be recognized. Well, that's very well, because if we were seeing results that are completely different to what you're thinking intuitively, then we would be in trouble.
Yeah.
But because the data confirms it, it just helps ground the work that you do in data. In Netherlands, this a very similar situation, business and trade, IT being recognized by the country there, and also the impact of support for Ukraine. That's also and also of the EU bid that Moldova is obviously pursuing firmly at the moment. In the UK, that's a market that's very attuned to governance, championing the rule of law, championing democracy, and obviously Moldova taking a very firm course on in that direction. That is being recognized. Probably also the European Political Community Summit that took place in Moldova. That got noticed in the UK, which is now outside of the EU, so any political initiative that encompasses them is being recognized in the country. And Moldova is also being recognized for education, and that's an important takeaway, I think, the recognition of the talent based here and the opportunities. In France, the perceptions of international relations are very strong. Again, probably the impact of what's going on in the region. But we're also seeing that products and brands and food are being recognized in France more than in other markets. And that points to perhaps wine being the ticket to building a greater familiarity and affinity with Moldova in France, obviously known as one of the biggest wine markets in the world. Turkey, there is a lot of good familiarity and goodwill towards Moldova, perhaps because of historical links, and that is something to exploit, and something that can be a foot in the door for Moldova when speaking to Turkish investors or speaking to addressing tourists from Turkey. Moldovans are being perceived as more fun, easy to do business with. Turks give it higher recommendation scores, so there is a lot of that goodwill that can be exploited in this market. And that brings us to a few recommendations. Again, we're not discovering America here. A lot of that you're already doing, but it's setting that in the context of the data and confirming that direction that I hope will bring further assurance to all of you that Moldova is on the right track. And that it has a lot of potential and opportunity in all these areas that it's currently investing in. First of all, there is a need to build greater familiarity through impactful activities, especially in Europe, in North America, and the key things that the country is recognized for in those markets could be the way in that can be exploited. So let's say wine in France, support for Ukraine in the US, commitment to democratic values in the UK, trade and investment in Germany and Netherlands, and historical ties and people with the Turks. Another direction is leveraging geopolitics to build reputation and influence for Moldova. For better or for worse, obviously the region is in a spotlight, and Moldova is taking its own path through this situation, very firmly establishing its course on European integration. Those reforms in terms of governance, that safety and security of the country versus what's happening in Ukraine, and that support for Ukraine are definitely important aspects that are being recognized around the world and that give Moldova a lot of potential for building that reputation, influence and familiarity further in the world. And we also recognize that Moldova has a strong female leader, President Maia Sandu, and her profile gives a face to Moldova, to all those efforts and to all those reforms, and it's definitely an asset to the country, especially in Europe. 3, continue positioning Moldova as a hub for innovation. I think that's obvious to all of us. Even in the logo you can see it's a microchip that's blooming, and I think that summarizes very well what Moldova is about. It's on the one hand about the IT, the innovation and the tech, and on the other it's about agriculture, wine. And
it's basically the Silicon Valley of America, yeah?
Exactly. And the two come together because you need innovation in agriculture, you need sustainability and green energy in agriculture, and that is definitely something that is coming through in all of those studies, and it's probably why many of you are here. It's either the IT sector or the agricultural sector that many of you would be coming from to invest in here in Moldova. And finally, it's a leitmotif of everything that we've been talking about, wine. And it's an opportunity not just in terms of business and trade, but also in terms of tourism. And Moldova's already doing that. Wine tourism is a major thing within the country. But I think there is even more potential, and not enough people around Europe know about that already. Moldova does need that bolder vision in promoting its wine industry and reaping its effects. Because obviously it's a very fun thing to do, wine tourism, and it can build that affinity, friendliness, positive attitude towards the country while exposing people on those tours to the sustainable ways of doing agriculture, to innovative ways of Moldova. So in many respects, that's just the way to go. If you're interested in more insights from the Global Soft Power Index, you can access it online at brandfinance.com/softpower. There's a QR code that will take you to the report on all the countries in the world and the different results for different countries in the world, including Moldova, in this study. And as Irina said, we're launching the next iteration on the 20th of February 2025. You're all invited to see how Moldova is doing, alongside all the other nation brands.
Thank you, Konrad. If we were to wrap up and taking 5 words that are representatives for Republic of Moldova based on the Global Soft Power Index, what would this be?
I think that's definitely innovation.
Innovation.
I think we've established that. There is a lot of positive perceptions around that. I think there's definitely wine that's been coming through. What other ideas do you have? Friendliness, definitely, especially in some markets. That's something that's coming through more than in others.
Sustainability?
Stability, governance. Sustainability. Oh, sustainability too, of course, in many respects. But also, I think, governance and stability and that ambition in international relations. That's probably the 5th thing I would point to. The firm course on EU integration that Moldova has taken, and a very positive and friendly attitude to its neighbors, and especially to Ukraine, which is in such a difficult position at the moment.
Thank you so much for this interesting discussion. I hope it was as interesting for the rest of the audience as it was for us. And we'll see each other in London, right?
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you. I will now invite to the stage to take my role the next moderator, and that is Vitalie Cojocar from Euronews Romania.
Thank you, Irina. Great panel, optimistic figure, and this is how money likes to be optimistic, everything. Now I'm welcoming you at the Moldova Business Week 2024. I will be the host of the next panel. My name is Vitalie Kojocari. I am journalist at Euronews Romania. I was born and raised here in Republic of Moldova. I've moved to the Romania before it joined European Union, and I could tell you for sure that I has witnessed a lot of transformation, even more in economic, also social transformation, and it was good. The European Union has a big impact on the Romanian economy. So I would like to congratulate you that you are here. You will witness what's happening further. I could tell you that it's a good day to see that Republic of Moldova's aims is to go to the European Union. So the thing is, of course, the name of this panel, it's a fancy name. It's about the business climate, but we could transform it and we could see it in a more direct question. It will be how can the Republic of Moldova become prosperous or even rich? Because it's all about money when we speak about business, of course. And there is two ways how I see it, like a journalist. I see it easy way or a hard way. Easy way is to become a European Union member because, of course, European funds will help business to grow. And the hard way also is become a European Union members because the hard way is about rules and laws, and it is hard to implement that. I saw it already in Romania. Now, I'm very curious to see what the guests, the speakers of the next panel will answer to my question. And I'm excited to introduce our distinguished speakers. Dumitru Alaiba, Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Economic Development and Digitalization. You can come here on the stage, please. Victoria Belouz, Minister of Finance, Republic of Moldova. Thank you. Victor Parlikov, Minister of Energy, Republic of Moldova. Nicolae Mândra, State Secretary for Road Infrastructure, please. And Rodica Crudu, State Secretary for European Integration. I will join you here. Thank you very much. So I will start with you, Mr. Alaiba. We spoke already, and how I understand from your presentation, digitalization is a very crucial economic growth and competitiveness enable. How Moldova leveraging digital transformation to enhance its business climate, and what specific initiatives are in place to attract foreign investment in this sector, please?
Thank you very much. Indeed, Moldova is not, digitalization is not only, we don't do it just because it's fancy and it looks nice, but because, as I said, we really see this as one of the few economic enablers that we have at the moment. That is why we prioritized digital services for entrepreneurs and also for citizens. And we effectively nearly doubled the number of digital services in only 1 year for entrepreneurs. And this has led to entrepreneurs responding almost immediately because the business is very rational and the economy responds to incentives. So at the moment we have 8 out of 10 interactions between government and business. That is all kinds of permits, authorizations, and all that stuff is digital, is in digital form.
that makes us, you know, again, and I don't want to be too immodest, but that makes us a regional leader at least, with an economy that is 100% digital in becoming. And that is good economics, as I said, because this has led to entrepreneurs saving over 1 billion lei this year alone. And with this uptake at the moment, of course, we're investing, we keep digitalizing, we keep promoting, we keep making the services ever more easy and easier to use. So that's almost 0.4% of GDP in impact, in efficiency. And we know that business wants efficiency, business wants productivity, and this is what we want to give. And also, you know, it's about the image. It's about sometimes first impression, and these little things are really important and matter. So if you're an investor and you start your journey by queuing in 5 offices in different authorities, from tax to registration to statistics to social to medical and so on, you kind of start having a bad taste of the whole adventure. So we want you to really have an easy and a very pleasant experience while doing business, because, you know, when you're entering a public authority, you're the customer. And when you go to a bank or when you go to a restaurant, you, as a customer, you expect to have a highest quality of service. So this is the standard we want to promote when you also interact with the state. You have to have the highest quality of service because you are the customer of the government. Now, we're not there yet. This is an idea that we're promoting. It's not to say that everything is so nice and clean. There is still a lot of work to be done. There is still a lot of minds to be changed, or maybe changed in terms of people, not necessarily re-educating. But this is what we're going to, and this is what our objective is in terms of digitalization, and that's how we see digital transformation impacting the economy. I'm not even going to mention the difficult to estimate impact on preventing corruption, because the corruption is where human interaction is. And when you eliminate this factor, you eliminate the possibility of having these shady deals, and that is, again, difficult to estimate in terms of numbers, but that's a very powerful weapon to use against corruption, and that's also not costing too much. We, again, in fighting corruption, we still have a lot to do. Yes, we are at an all-time low in Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index. This ranking is out there for some 20 years, and Moldova was never in such a high position. That's not to say we are happy with where we are, because there's still really a lot to work until, let's say, reaching top 20. But these things matter, and digitalization is one of the instruments that we use. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I encourage you not to be modest, because how I know Romanian Minister of Digitalization is looking what's happening in Moldova, and you are truly a leader in this region. That's good. That's good to know. And I would like to ask Minister Belos about finance. So Moldova's potential accession, or future accession, let's say like that, to the European Union opens significant economic avenues. How do you foresee Moldova's financial landscape in terms of attracting foreign direct investment and ensuring fiscal stability?
Hello everyone, thank you for the opportunity to communicate about the effort the Ministry of Finance is making to improve the business climate in Moldova. we deal with public finance, but we also deal with creating optimal conditions for investors, and this is an important priority for us. I want to assure you that in the context of EU integration process, enormous efforts are being made by the tax authority, Ministry of Finance, and Customs Service, so that in this transition process we can ensure the predictability for the business environment. Our colleagues are working on the necessary documents to transpose certain directives on excises, on VAT, on income tax, and we're making efforts to have an open communication. I want to mention that in the fiscal policy for 2025 that was published this year, the government directed its efforts towards simplifying operational processes, increasing the number of people who can submit certain documents, certain declarations, in a simplified manner. We also have the stock option plan in our fiscal policy. Certain changes were made to when it comes to accelerating investments by providing certain benefits in the first year, regardless of the status of the economic operator. The Ministry of Finance is also making efforts together with the colleagues from the tax service and from the customs service to simplify business processes. We are aware that there's a lot to be done in this cooperation with the customs service and with our beneficiaries, but we are doing our best in this regard. Automated processes bring clarity, and we're also trying to reduce the impact of human factors, of subjectivism, especially when it comes to beneficiaries interacting with the customs service. You need to know that on the platform of the Ministry of Finance, our colleagues are trying to find issues for the the business environment raised, and some colleagues, our colleagues, come up with real solutions for the investors. I want to mention that we'll try to do our best so that the interaction with authorized economic operators is better in order to simplify the import processes. A very important aspect that we focus on is to increase the number of compliance actions. We want to create conditions for taxpayers so that they are compliant on a voluntary basis and pay their taxes. So when our colleagues from customs service, they should communicate these errors to beneficiaries directly so that they can correct the errors voluntarily. The task that we have and the customs service have is to provide the opportunity, to provide the beneficiaries with the opportunity to correct their errors on a voluntary basis without being punished. I want to say that for us, feedback is important, but currently priority number one is voluntary compliance of taxpayers and ensuring conditions for voluntary compliance. With some business associations, we'll continue the discussion that happened on the platform, that took place on the platform of the Minister of Finance. And I'd like to assure you that once our colleagues finalize the amendments for the transposition of directives, we'll start the consultation process, the communication process, so that you have predictability in your business operations. We'll try to come up with amendments to the fiscal policy in due time so that every economic operator can adjust to it in order to be in line with the regulatory framework. And starting in November, we'll communicate all the amendments that have been made. Starting in November and until January, we want to inform the economic operators about the amendments so that they are compliant with them. I'd like to thank you. At the Ministry of Finance, the business environment is very active, is coming with ideas, suggestions for amendments, changes, modifications. And I'd like to assure that in this mandate, we'll do our best for every obstacle, bottleneck you have will be addressed and the best solutions will be identified. For optimization, for some changes, the Ministry of Finance is open for communication and for contributing to eliminating all the obstacles you face. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Minister.
Figure out that, of course, even in Moldova, tax and death are inevitable, so hope it will be good for business. Now, I will just move to Mr. Victor Palikov, Minister of Energy. We saw that energy is a great and important thing for economy and for security even, so of course it's important for economic growth. Could you tell me more about how Moldova is positioning itself as an attractive destination for investment in the energy sector? And because we are speaking about EU integration, I'm interested also in renewable energy.
Okay, thank you very much. Your question is very multi-dimensional, so I will start probably with the main thing, with the EU integration as an umbrella for the entire process, and energy security, which is a base for investments not just in the energy sector but the entire economy. And then we'll move maybe to detail if I have time. If not, then maybe questions. So number one, for Moldova, integration in the EU has already started in the energy sector back in 2010. We've become part of the Energy Community Treaty, which is a kind of a pre-room for EU energy market. And for us, in the energy sector, many of the things that are going to happen in all other sectors, with negotiations, with transposition of the acquis, with implementation, with infringements, this is already a practice, a routine that has been on our agenda for some years, for maybe more than 10 years. Now, I want to mention a couple of things on the security. One is there is already a tremendous impact that the European Union has made on this energy security of Moldova, and I will not go into technical details, I'll skip the techniques, but I'll only say one key word, which is synchronization of the electricity grids. In just 3 weeks after the start of the war in 2022 in Ukraine, in the European Union, EU, against all protocols, against all the typical procedures that typically take more than 10 years. In Romania, the synchronization took about 13 years, made the decision that Moldova and Ukraine are allowed to synchronize their grids with European continental transmission system, which basically made Moldova and Ukraine technically part of the European network of electricity. From that, a lot of things changed. If on the 16th of March 2022, 1:15 p.m., when the synchronization finalized, there was a consumer watching a bulb, the consumer would notice absolutely nothing. When it comes to the way the sector functions, when it comes to the security, when it comes to the geopolitical, if you like, impact, that was huge. Because as a result of this, we have become much less dependent on the critical infrastructure, on the electricity critical infrastructure that is located in the territory, the part of the territory of Moldova that we do not control in the Transnistrian region. As a result of that, we could ensure the security of functioning of our system, even if our colleagues and friends from across the river would start playing games. And that was a tremendous step forward that redefined the entire discussion on the security. It has been tested in October, November 2022. Gazprom limited the amount of gas it supplied to Moldova. The power plant in the Transnistrian region that supplies most of the electricity to us refused to supply this electricity. The Ukrainian energy system that was another potential source of energy until then was bombarded, so we could not rely on the Ukrainian system either. And on the top of it, the prices were at their top in the region for the energy. And we demonstrated that we can go through this most difficult scenario, and we are resilient. We have sufficient resilience to go through it. And that was a redefinition of what means energy security for us today. That redefined our ability even to diversify from the Russian gas and from many, many, many other things. As a result, it is only in 2023 that we as a country demonstrated that we can be a place where investors can feel secure from the point of view of their energy. And the prices for this energy will be correlated with the regional prices. And the conditions of accessing these prices, as I mentioned, due to the EU integration and approximation process, are going to be similar to the conditions that you would have in any other country around, Romania, any EU country. What that means is, until now, for the last 30 years, both in terms of gas and electricity, Moldova was relying and was dependent on the Russian Federation. Of course, you cannot imagine major investments happening in such a destination, other than coming from the Russian Federation, because they were more or less in control. Now, what we haven't noticed a lot of investments from the Russian Federation to create jobs and develop our economy here. And it is only now that with diversification of sources, with both on the gas and on electricity, transposition of the EU acquis, creation of the markets, we are becoming a place, or we're getting our place on the radar of investors from the point of view of energy security. And I think this thing is difficult to overestimate on the long run. Now, when it comes to investments and when it comes to our agenda now in the energy sector, there is two things that I would like to mention, two major pillars. I'll skip the rest. One is obviously an integration of Moldovan energy market into the European energy market. And that's going to happen before Moldova actually becomes a full-fledged EU member country. We're building interconnections, we're developing our markets, we're creating our market operators, we're developing our system services market, etc., etc., etc. And that would position us that by 2029, we will be prepared to integrate into the European energy market, even if we're not a member country of the EU. Second, the biggest chunk of our energy strategy is going to be about decarbonization. And that's normal, because if you look at Moldova, We don't have gas, we don't have oil, we don't have coal, we don't have nuclear, we don't have hydro. Okay, so guess what it's going to be? The only things that we as a country can be competitive when we integrate into the European market is the renewables. And this is why, for us, a major goal is to A, increase the energy efficiency, and B, energy efficiency first, how do you call it, principle, and ability to integrate more renewables in the grid. Unlike previously, renewables are already competitive with their long-term prices. Renewables are already outbidding in terms of cost the traditional energy. It is about storage, it is about the buffers, it is about demand management, it is about many other things to enable and to increase the ability to absorb more renewables in the grid that we are focusing now. That's why the interconnections, that's why creation of the energy markets. The only two elements that I would like to mention specifically is we are launching massive programs for energy efficiency. That means construction works, and that is a huge support to economic growth. Because in essence, we're going to invest hundreds of millions, if not billions, into buildings particularly. In Moldova, buildings consume over 50% of all the energy, and we consume about twice as much energy to upkeep 1 square meter of the building compared to average EU, which means that about a quarter of our energy balance we're just simply throwing away. We're wasting it. There's a huge potential in terms of saving energy, so we transform investments into basically construction works, which creates jobs and creates, drives economic growth, into reduction of imports of energy sources, because Moldova imports over 70% of its energy sources from abroad. Another big element that I would like to mention is the renewables, and obviously that is the auctions for renewables that we've already launched. 165 megawatts might not sound huge for big investors, but this is what our system can absorb now. And we're inviting everyone to take part. All the documents are already online. If you like to see them, I'll be glad to share more. But essentially, it's going to be a 15 years guaranteed price as a result of an auction. Whoever bids the lowest price is getting the right to sell this electricity at fixed price for the next 15 years. And another element of that is, in order to be able to integrate more renewables in future, we're going to focus in future, when we have the market and when we have the smart metering deployed, which is already now in process, we're going to focus on electric mobility. That has a tremendous potential in terms of both demand side management, balancing the grid, and in terms of reducing the carbon footprint, both on the transport sector, but in the energy sector and as a country as a whole. So thank you very much, and I'll be open to answer any questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Great insights about what's happening after the war in Ukraine. Of course, it was hard for us and for you. And of course, we have sunny in Moldova. Of course, we could benefit of that. I don't know if it is the possibility. We will jump to the next speaker, Mr. Nicolae Mândra, State Secretary for Road Infrastructure. Now, I came by car from Bucharest to Chișinău. I would not say nothing about Romanian infrastructure. It's a big pain for Romanian drivers. But I will just I'm just curious about your project in the Republic of Moldova, not just for drivers, for entrepreneurs, because we know good infrastructure capture a lot of investment. So what are the main projects you could develop in this term? I mean, for investment, how you could attract investors in the Republic of Moldova. And I'm not speaking just about the roads, I'm speaking about railway as well.
Da. Se aude, da? Can you hear me? So in general terms, it is easy and at the same time it's complicated to talk about infrastructure, the infrastructure of our country. Because the main goal of the Republic of Moldova, of the government, is to be part of the EU. And the infrastructure is one of the major tools and the main tools that shall be improved to be part of the EU family. So in general terms, to show the openness and to adjust the legal framework, the Republic of Moldova is undergoing a lot of changes at the legal level to transpose the EU acquis. A series of measures have already been implemented here in the Republic of Moldova, like the transposition of all legal acts referring, including the directives, standard documents that are already implemented here in the country. It is a major tool to ensure that the infrastructure here in the country will be developed and maintained at the same level as in the EU. What's the main goal of the government in order to achieve the EU acquis? Is to develop, to extend, to rehabilitate all type of infrastructure, all transport infrastructure. If we speak about road infrastructure, then we have an trans-European transport infrastructure or transport network. We have around 1,000 national roads, 1,000 kilometers of national roads that are used to import products from the EU. 40% of these are considered to be main roads, and 60% of it are extended European roads. By 2050, the plan of the government is to extend it to rebuild, rehabilitate the entire trans-European road infrastructure, road network. We mean that we shall implement major road infrastructure projects like Ungheni-Chișinău-Odessa road that will redirect the traffic from the biggest Ukrainian port to the EU. Here we speak about very awaited project. It's a belt road, a Chișinău belt road. Here we speak about several other roads that transit the country from north to south, from east to west. If we speak about railway infrastructure, at the moment, the entire railway network is in TNT. So by 2050, it shall be rehabilitated. So this major infrastructure shall be rehabilitated. The most important sectors within this network is to rebuild and extend the Ungheni-Chișinău railway, also to electrify this portion of railway. If to speaking about other type of infrastructure, we speak about airport infrastructure. We have 2 airports in the country. We have Chișinău and Mărculești airports. We have the plans to extend this airport as a TNT member, and it means that we will invest bigger amounts to develop their infrastructure. Also, we will invest in the seaports. So unfortunately, we have only Giurgiulești port. We have a plan to develop this port. And it is extremely important to extend it to make sure it becomes a port that interconnects different types of transportation. We speak about the fact that we need multimodal terminals. One terminal will be built in Giurgiulești International Port, and the second intermodal port will be built in Chișinău, and the third one will be built in Berești that will connect all types of transportation from the north part of the country. This is, in general terms, an overview of all the projects that are on our table that the government deals with. I'm happy that we have the funding, we have the partial funding for this project that is provided by external partners, and several projects that I have presented are ongoing. In order to be able to present the feasibility of these projects to our investors, so all the projects shall undergo strict feasibility check-ups, and once the project proves that it's feasible, it can be implemented, and these investment projects provide benefits for the Republic of Moldova. In this regard, I want to show my gratitude to anyone who is here in the room and is interested in investing in our infrastructure. And I'm very happy to be here in front of you, to be able to answer to all your questions in case you have some.
Mulțumim foarte mult.
Thank you very much.
Observați.
A short clarification and observation. As a journalist, I've been to construction sites in Romania. So Godspeed in Romania, it took a lot of time.
For the Rodica Crudu, State Secretary for European Integration. So we saw the negotiation start already, and we are happy with that. Now, I just want to understand what will be the updates of the negotiation. Of course, you could help us in that. Also, because we are here at this panel, Business Climate, I would like to understand what this process aligns with the goals of creating more favorable investment climate in the Republic of Moldova.
Hello to everyone. Good morning, dear guests, esteemed guests, and friends of Republic of Moldova. I'm honored to be here today and to talk to you about what Moldova does in regards to European integration. Indeed, since we had the first intergovernmental conference that officially launched the negotiations with the European Union, currently the government of Republic of Moldova is working diligently towards aligning to the EU standards. We have started the so-called process screening. I know that for the majority of the business community representatives, this word doesn't say so much, but in simple words, it means that we tell to the European Union member states where we stand in relation to aligning to the EU acquis, to EU standards, and how do we plan to fully align to the EU standards. But for the audience in here today, what I want to mention is that Moldova's journey towards EU accession is a strong signal that Moldova's government has a strong commitment towards continuing implementing its economic reform agenda and to do everything necessary in order to become full member of the European Union. Of course, this process, underpinned by political stability and economic reforms, will further enhance the investment climate by ensuring alignment to all the EU standards across several sectors, such as governance, be it trade, energy, infrastructure, and many more. I would like to point out a few achievements that Moldova managed to register so far, and probably it's very important to mention that one of the main important milestone in Moldova's journey towards European Union is signing of the deep and comprehensive free trade agreement with the European Union, which not only opened the door towards an ocean of opportunities for Moldova's economic development, but also laid the foundation for further economic integration into the European Union's market. It's worth mentioning that thanks to this FTA, currently 65% of all Moldova's exports are oriented towards European market. On the one hand, we see that this is an impressive achievement and it's not just a number. It says that Moldovan producers acknowledge how important to focus on the comparative advantage that we can reap and provide to the EU market. But on the other hand, it is also a sign of the recognition that we managed to obtain on the EU's market. Recognition on the potential that we do have, but also how many opportunities are yet to be explored on the European single market. And we are proud that Moldova has become a key trade partner of the European Union, and our businesses currently do have access to the vast and dynamic European single market. But as we work towards EU membership, it is important to remember that this journey is not just about the social standards we're fulfilling a long-held vision. It is fundamentally about the economic integration of our country. And one of the key aspects of the economic integration is investment. And I'm happy to share today with you that 83% of Moldova's foreign direct investment stocks currently are originating from the EU country. What does it tell to us today is also that EU countries and investors from EU countries acknowledge that Moldova has a strong determination to continue to align to the EU standards, but also they do see a lot of potential in our country. So it is important to provide the EU investors, and not only investors coming from the EU, but from the whole world, that Moldova's government is determined to work diligently from now on to create an environment that is stable, that is trustful, that could provide a lot of opportunities to the EU investors. And the trustworthy and reliable market does not stand only from from the efforts of the government and the country towards aligning to the European Union, which we have to keep in mind that that will create an environment and a sense that we are following the same rules they are used to follow in their country of origin, and we will be their partners in achieving their objectives.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for your insight. Of course, a good panel is when it's end on the time. We are a little bit run out of the time, but I will take just a few time of your minutes with us. So I just want to ask you a specific question, and regarding your domain, yeah, and your position and the government of Republic of Moldova. Could you, in one sentence, tell us why foreigners, entrepreneurs should or could or willing to invest in Republic of Moldova regarding your domain? Just one sentence to understand and to see the focus of the investment. Please. Yeah, it's working. Everything in Moldova is working.
In one sentence, this is the future EU member states. You only need to look at the countries that have gone through this exact route before to see that what is coming ahead is a period of high growth, of accelerated growth, because this is countries like Poland, like Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Czechia, and many others have, Romania, many others have seen before us embarking on this course. We're just at the beginning of the slope. Besides that, you have a responsive government, you have a government that is here to listen, that is here to solve the problem, to accept where things could improve and to work together to really make it into a partnership and thus help you make a good investment in Moldova and grow together with the country. That's it was a phrase, sorry.
Yeah, it's a
but
good...
I didn't use full stops.
Good long phrase, good long sentence about investment. Thank you very much for your applause. Așadar, din perspectiva Ministerului...
From the perspective of the Ministry of Finance, why investors should invest into the Republic of Moldova? Because we have balanced and stable taxes. We're working for predictability and voluntary compliance by avoiding sanctioning.
Thank you. Mr. Parlikov, one sentence. I know you could speak hours about energy. One sentence about that.
It's not so much about energy. It's generally about investing in Moldova. And I will probably build on what Vice Prime Minister Alaiba mentioned already. In addition to the fact that we're becoming an EU member country, we're a small, very adaptive, very agile, very mobile country where the distance between the business and the community and the government is very short. We are willing to see not just investors, we're willing to see partners that would make Moldova a success story to serve as an example to many, many other countries, like Singapore maybe in some previous years. That's why we don't, I'm encouraging investors to come with more than just the money. Come with ambition, with a vision, with innovation, and be sure that you get all the support here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Într-o propoziție așadar.
In a short phrase, from the perspective of the Ministry of Road Infrastructure, and how will you solve the issue with the railways? Because it's different in Moldova and Romania, but we can talk about this during the break. In a phrase, in a sentence about attracting investors, from the perspective of infrastructure, it's very easy. €1 invested today in road infrastructure in 20 years means €3. It's simple math. What you invest today in infrastructure, after 20 years, will grow threefold. And this is the most resilient investment sector because taxes collected from the entire road infrastructure and energy and digitalization infrastructure and other types of infrastructure are continuous. So resilience is continuously growing in this sector. And to respond to your question, intermodal, multimodal ports, one of them will be in Chisinau and will ensure the transboarding of goods for different types of transportation. Yes, thank you very much. Perhaps big constructors from EU, including from Romania, will come to the Moldovan market.
What are the strengths of Republic of Moldova from your point of view? Why foreigner investors or entrepreneurs should, willing to invest in Republic of Moldova? One sentence.
Indeed, it's very complicated to keep it stuck to one sentence, but I will say like this. We offer predictability to you investors thanks to regulatory alignment to the EU standards. And our path to the European Union is a path of opportunity for us, Moldova, and for you, investors and partners of the Republic of Moldova. Let's forge together fruitful partnership to help the country to become prosperous, resilient, and competitive. Thank you.
Thank you. That was all about this panel. Thank you very much for your answers. Of course, now I will invite to the stage Natalia Bejan, General Director, Invest Moldova Agency, to continue this great event. Congrats for this. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And ready to continue with the presentation, which I think comes with a lot of responsibility, because within the next couple of minutes, some 10-15 minutes, I would like to talk to you about some of the most important opportunities that investors should seek in Moldova. But also, I'm very excited that after the presentation, we will follow with a panel of foreign investors who have settled their businesses in Moldova in the last period, who will share their stories, why they chose Moldova as their business grounds. I will need the clicker, please. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, ready to continue. I am for sure a biased person because I am from Moldova. I love my country and I do my job with dedication, but also I have to be very honest about the starting grounds of Moldova. Moldova is one of the smallest countries in the world. We are the 135th country, so we have to be quite objective and realistic. What are we offering to the investors? At the same time, in Moldova, we have about 2.5 million people, so speaking about Moldova as a market for sale might not be exactly one of the most interesting things for the investors. However, Moldova is a friendly nation, and this is something that you've also heard in the previous panels, in the soft power report that has been presented. We have trade agreements, significant, important trade agreements with our partners that gives us access to the markets of 49 countries. And in total, those markets are giving us the opportunity to sell to more than 1 billion customers around the world. So when we are speaking to the investors and inviting them to Moldova, we are not inviting them to sell only in our country, but also in our partners' countries, bringing the products, services produced in Moldova to a much larger audience than just the Republic of Moldova. I'm going to speak a lot, when I'm speaking about Moldova in general, I'm speaking a lot about the talents, about the people. It is true that long are gone the days when we are speaking about a lot of cheap labor force. That's not anymore the case in Moldova, but to be honest, as a citizen of Moldova, I'm actually proud that our nation, our people, our citizens are getting better and better paid. But what we can offer, and that is the talent and the quality of the services and of the work that we are doing. Currently in Moldova, already, we are providing business services in 14 languages. And those are not just self-taught languages or courses taken languages. We have schools and universities and communities, minorities, that speak in a variety of different languages. For business services, the same as for the IT services, we now have Moldova IT Park. We will speak about it as well throughout the week in more details, that offers a very advantageous fiscal facilitation and simplification of the administration process of the companies who are residing within the Moldova IT Park. We have in Moldova more than 5,000 students right now at the moment, foreign students, who chose Moldova for their studies. A bit over 2,000 of them are studying at the Medical and Pharma University in Chișinău. And speaking about the pharma sector, I would like to also highlight something related to the talent and the quality. The companies who are members of the Medical Tourism Association have made an internal survey research, and that they said that more than 70% of their customers' revenues in the dental industry currently already are coming from export, from foreigners coming to Moldova to do their teeth, to make sure that they are healthy, because of the great quality of the service and because of the great prices, the very competitive prices that we are offering in Moldova. Speaking of the quality, another important aspect is, I'm going to give a couple of examples from the automotive industry. In Moldova, if you speak to, we have a bit over 10 very strong companies that are producing and exporting automotive car components around the world. Many of them are standing as benchmarks for the global companies where they are working. One of the ways how we are measuring that is the time of delivery, making sure that they are delivering their products on time. And you cannot imagine the stories and the extent that the investors and companies are going to make sure that everything is delivered. We also know some stories where private jets, charter airplanes have been hired to make sure that the products are being delivered absolutely on time, but also the lowest rate of mistakes, because obviously you don't want your Mercedes, Porsche, BMWs, because we do produce for those cars in Moldova. You don't want absolutely any mistakes. And in Moldova, the companies are providing the lowest number of mistakes, even companies who have absolutely zero mistakes for the hundreds of thousands of products, of components that they are producing. Not least important, in Moldova, when we speak about the gender equality, we actually mean it. And this is not the rating that we came up with. This is an international rating that was provided just a couple of months ago. Moldova is ranked number 13 out of 146 countries when it comes to the gender equality ranking. I hope you saw this also on the stage. I can confirm from my own experience that I've never encountered in Moldova from the work perspective, any obstacles of pursuing any jobs because of any kind of gender issues. Our president is a woman as well. We have ministers who are women. Most of the business associations, by the way, in Moldova are mostly driven by women. So we are a nation that is friendly also from this perspective. I would like to still continue with the talent, because the talent in Moldova that is provided for the foreign investors, and not only to the foreign investors, doesn't have to only be local. We made sure, and the government is making sure, that companies have access also to the foreign talents. We have free visa regime for over 100 countries. We have super simplified work permits for 47 countries, and this is a procedure that has been simplified not so long ago. It only works for a couple of months now, so it's a very new procedure. And also for the companies residing in the Moldova IT park, there is even another more simplified procedure to obtain IT visa for the IT companies that need employees for their companies. So in Moldova, we make sure, and we are going to listen to you as well if there are other options how to give you even more access to the talents, but we make sure that you have people working not only from Moldova, but also if you need to access the international market, then that should be happening as well. Continuing still the thought on the IT, we not only have the talent in Moldova appearing overnight. This has been a process that has been developing already for quite many years. In the last 8 years in Moldova, the revenues from IT companies has increased 10 times. It's a 10 times growth, and it didn't happen overnight. This is one of those increases that have happened in a very healthy manner. And right now, we have more than 90% of the services in IT that goes to outsourcing for exports. So 90% of the IT services in Moldova goes for the exports. At this moment, we have 26,000 people working in the IT industry, and worldwide, we are the #2 country in terms of IT specialists per capita, meaning we do have the talent and we do have the force when it comes to the IT sector. And what goes amazingly well with IT in Moldova is wine, even though wine goes excellently with probably everything. When we speak about wine, and I'm very proud to say that this is becoming already part of the country brand and the way even how we present ourselves. But the truth is that winemaking is also part of our economic reality. By the way, just a couple of weeks ago, at the beginning of September, I myself harvested the grapes in the yard of my mom, because making wine in Moldova, your own wine in your household, is a very normal, simple thing. A research that was published just a couple of weeks ago shows that Moldova is ranking #2 worldwide based on wine self-sufficiency. In Moldova, we produce 4 times more wine than we need or want to drink. Ahead of us is only Chile, which means that we actually have a lot of, not only potential, because we are realizing this potential, we have the capacity to export, and this is what we are doing, together with over 200 wineries that have grown in Moldova in the past years. Also, Moldova has the largest winery in CEE that is also quoted at the stock market, so we are proud to have that. And by the way, we also in Moldova, we have the largest IT company in CEE, also traded at the stock market. We are also speaking about the wines and vineyards. We are the #1 in the world when it comes to vineyards density per capita. So when I was telling you the stories about really having the grapes in almost everyone's homes, if you're speaking about the villages, this is part of our reality. And even though we are again one of the smallest nations in the world, the 135th country, we are the 14th worldwide largest wine exporter. And we are not just exporting as much as we can, but we are exporting good quality wines. We have more than 6,000 awards in the last years at the international competitions, and also in 2023 we won the international best red wine. I can tell you afterwards which one exactly it was, or you can Google it, it's very easy. Speaking about the wines, I still want to stay a little bit in the agricultural sector. From my perspective, when we speak about agriculture in Moldova, this is one of the quite important, not realized potentials, because when investors are coming to Moldova, they are looking for the raw material. And this is happening in very many different industries. They are asking if they have the raw material. It's a bit different when we are speaking about IT and services, but about manufacturing, you will also always look for the raw materials. In Moldova, even though, again, we are one of the smallest nations, we are at the same time one of the largest producers and exporters in the world for so many different fruits and vegetables. I don't know if everyone knows, but if somebody doesn't know, I just want to stress again that we are the #1 plums exporter to the European Union, #3 in the world. I'll just remind you again, we are the 135th largest, meaning smallest nation in the world. We are among top 20 worldwide for apples, plums, walnuts, cherries, sunflower oil, sunflower seeds, rapeseed exporter. We didn't put many more of them here because we didn't want to overwhelm you, but the message to the investors is that processing food of good quality in Moldova is something that you can do. You can find the raw material here, close to you at very good prices, and we would like to teach our producers here in Moldova not to export just the raw material and then import products with a great added value, but to actually produce added value here in Moldova and export it this way. And because I know that for investors, for business people in general, it is really important to speak about numbers and to see numbers as well, I want to reiterate and re-emphasize what has been discussed earlier in the previous panels. Moldova is really a digitized nation. When I am working on my daily job at Invest Moldova agency, there are plenty of papers that have to be signed to make sure that all the processes are correct, that everything is being documented. 95% of all the documents at Invest Moldova were signing electronically. So the electronic signature, and it works from anywhere in the world. If you are an entrepreneur, an administrator that wants to lead their business from anywhere in the world, by having an e-signature in Moldova, you can do that without many complications. Over 65% of the business services in Moldova, public business services, are already digitized at this moment. A year ago, this number was half of what we have today. We have a very clear target to have 75 by the end of the year, and we are targeting 100% within the next years, because we want to make sure that any business procedures for business people are as seamless, digitized, and easy as possible. Also, it is quite easy and simple to register a company in Moldova. It might take up to 1 day, and here I'll probably have to also bring the card of Invest Moldova agency and saying that by our mandate, we are here to help support investors who come to Moldova. We can guide you through the registration process. So we are opening our doors to make sure that if you want to do business in Moldova, please reach out to us, and we will make sure to support you through the procedure of establishing a business in Moldova. And the last 3 numbers that I want to give you, and I think they are most important to memorize and also to have as a comparison to other countries. In Moldova, we charge 0% for the retained earnings, and there are just a few countries in the world that do that. We're not the only ones, but there are very few countries that do the same. So we encourage investors, both international as well as locals, if you make profits, if you have sales in Moldova, and if you decide to reinvest those money into the business development, the government is going to charge 0%. This number goes as high as 30–35% in other countries. In Moldova, we have this set at 0. Of course, it is important as well to mention the 7% single tax on revenue for Moldova IT Park residents. Why this is important, it's not only the tax, because the tax is so small, the 7%, but also because it's so simple. It's the only tax that you have to pay. To make it even more clear, you don't pay taxes for salaries, like social insurance, medical insurance, road taxes. all possible taxes are being simplified into one single tax of 7% for the IT companies residing in Moldova IT Park. And by the way, this is an e-park, so you don't have to actually physically be residing in any kind of parks. It is an e-park that you can register online, and you can basically, using your e-signature, manage it from anywhere around the world. And last but not the least, we have a very competitive corporate income tax of 12%. So obviously, in case when you want to pay the dividends, then this is the tax that is being applied. And again, we know this is a very competitive and fair tax that hopefully is stimulating the businesses to grow and develop here in the Republic of Moldova. These are words, these are nice words, these are nice promises, but what I would like to invite you now to continue with is a panel out of which will be part 4 businesses, 4 business owners, administrators that have chosen Moldova as their space for business in the last couple of years. I just want to reiterate that Moldova is open for business, and we are here as the government, but also as Invest Moldova agency, to make sure that your questions are answered. If you have logistics questions, operational questions, costs questions, how much does it cost, or who might be your competition, or even connect you to the competition, connect you to the partners that you can have in Moldova, to the business associations, please make sure to reach out to us. I thank you for your attention, and I would like to invite further Vasile Tofan, Senior Partner at Horizon Capital, to invite on stage his panelists and to hear from investors why they chose Moldova and how is it to do business in Moldova. Thank you.
I would like to invite the panelists to come on stage. Don't be shy, guys. Hi. Pleasure to meet you. Welcome. Yes.
You just arrived from Tbilisi, right?
Yes, yes.
I will go there this afternoon. Yeah. It's enough.
Okay, Natalia, after such an exciting presentation, I think it will be very difficult to rise up to expectations, but we'll try that. You know, in Moldova, we have this saying that if it rains at your wedding, that's for a very good beginning. And because, you know, this business matchmaking and matching investors and opportunities is a bit of a wedding, you know, I think this rain is a very, very good sign. So without further ado, the goal of today's panel is to bring to life some of the real investment cases. So double click on all these numbers Natalia has shown there. And we have a very exciting panel. It's only men, but that's an exception. So again, I think the gender argument stands very much. So today's panel is very, very, very much an exception. So let's try to bring to life these opportunities. First, without further ado, maybe I'll give you the chance to introduce yourself, gentlemen, and we'll dive into the discussion.
Hello, my name is Igor Keptini. I'm a general manager of the German company Magnetic. Yeah, this is why we are here today, to discuss it, to say our success story. As a Magnetic starting the activity in Moldova in 2019, they decided to open the plant in Moldova, especially in Belts. It's a north capital. The choose why it was actually Moldova was because we are very close to the European Union and we have different taxes, let's say, better as we have in the European Union. And we have such as a free economic zone which gives us possibility to make our production much more easy through the service providing activity. In 2019 we starting based the company, and in 2020 when the starting to ramp up the production, we actually faced with everybody knows what happened in 2020. It's a pandemic situation which created an impact of broken supply chains, so no traveling makes impossible a lot of things to ramp up the production. However, we had this possibility to do, and we grow to overall efficiency with 110% of productivity in just 11 months. This was a good effect, which create us in 2023 a new strategy to develop Moldova not only for the service providing activity, but as well as a full production step. So beginning with the acquisition of the raw material, to full step production until to delivery to the end customer. So our customers are mostly automotive. It's 75% rate of automotive production, but as well we are field of application are differently a lot, because our magnets are specialized on safety more, and this is an energy field, this is the safety field, this is medical as well. And I think this was one of the key of success was a correct startup of the project. So it was addressed firstly question to our governments, different agencies like Invest Agency. It was discussed with administration of the free economic zone and prepared everything to find the location, to hire the people firstly, and then I think this is which is creating the effect of this success.
Igor, maybe I'll cut you here. So just to keep this panel dynamic. So thank you for this intro. Maybe we'll give the chance to the other panelists to introduce themselves, and then we'll dive in more detail into your story. So Ulf, please, the word to you. Let's try to keep it to 1-2 minutes. These intros.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Ulf Schneider. I'm from Hamburg, so the very north of Germany. We actually just started our business in Moldova a couple of months ago. I founded and lead a German consulting firm with, in the meantime, about 500 staff. 500 not yet in Moldova, but we are working hard on that. So far it's just a handful of people. We are in 15 countries of Eastern Europe, Central Asia, the Caucasus, and the Balkans. We have chosen to start business in Moldova because I see that when I look at our clients, we accompanied about 500 clients to the east coming from the west, that Moldova is for several reasons on their agenda. And what they find interesting, I think I will say during our discussion, so, and probably to keep it short, just the introduction, I leave it with this. Here you see actually our mission. Our mission is to bring business from the east and the west together and to accompany our clients with the very first market analysis, but also assist them with fully operational businesses in these 15 countries where we are present. And as I said, so Moldova, we just very recently, 3 months ago, started our business here, and I'm very happy about that.
Thank you, Wolf. Like German precision, you see, like following the moderator's instructions exactly. So thank you for this. Ionuț, the word to you.
Thank you, Vasile. My name is Ionuț Bindea. I am CEO and chairman of Roca Industry, the most relevant holding of producing building materials in Romania. We have 12 factories in 3 countries. Out of the 12 factories, 2 are here in Moldova, one in Vulcănești, one in Sângera near Chișinău. With these two factories, we produce fiber mesh for constructions. We employ over 200 people here in Moldova, and by the end of this year, we expect to end it with at least 15 million euro in exports. Two very important things that I would like to say about what we are doing here in Moldova. First of all, we have managed to put the made in Moldova products in the houses of consumers in 15 EU countries. So this is something that I think you all should be proud of, because made in Moldova products are in about half of Europe. The other very important thing is that we have a plan to transform our factory in Vulcanești in the largest producer of fiber mesh in Eastern Europe. So since we say that our mission in Roca Industries in Romania is to create regional champions out of Romanian companies, in this process we intend to create regional champions also out of Moldovan factories, and that's another thing that I would like to stress out. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ionut. Domnul Sturza?
Yes, thank you. My name is Ion Sturza. I'm originally from Moldova. There is a legend in Moldova. I'm not invest so much in Moldova, but besides this, our exposure still is few thousands of millions in Republic of Moldova, which cover practically all economy of Moldova. It's agriculture, industrial, small real estate. Our last investment, it's we start to increase our capacity together with our partners in Călăraș in our industrial assets pipelines, and also we relatively recent launch IT company with our partners from Israel and United States in cyber security fields.
Excellent. So look, we have quite a broad representation of sectors here, so I'm really excited kind of to deep dive in all of them. And the first question, which is going to be the same for all of you gentlemen, is why have you chosen Moldova, and maybe what is one positive that you have discovered here that you were not aware about before making your investment? So again, let's try to stick to 2-3 minutes so that we cover a broader range of questions. So Igor, first, the word to you.
So I already told from my presentation why it was chosen Moldova. However, I would like to repeat maybe a little bit in a few sentences. It's tax favorable country, so region. You have a possibility to do it much more effective. So we have still qualified personnel, and we are very favorable from the logistic point of view. So we are the bridge between the Asian market and Europe market. We can become it as well. This is the reason why.
Thank you. And maybe what is the one positive that surprised you here?
The positive is that why we opened the factory.
Maybe something surprised you here. So obviously you knew the value proposition.
Nothing surprised. I'm Moldovan citizen, so
okay.
I know everything. So for our colleagues from headquarters, it was surprised that we can grow such in a short term. This was a big surprise for them. So actually ramp up, it takes maybe in other countries, like in Asia, ramp ups take 4 years roundabout. In Europe, it could be better, it's 2 years. We make it in 11 months. So we can achieve OEE, overall efficiency, in 11 months.
That's a very impressive surprise, actually, a very impressive positive surprise. Really, really well done on this one, Igor. Ulf?
Yes, why I took the decision to open an office here in Moldova, based certainly on what my clients tell me what they are looking for, I would say it's 3 interesting questions they had. One question is regarding IT industry. They asked me, what are countries in the East where we can build new corporations in IT? One question. The second point, we see with all the political situations around Russia, but also China becoming partially toxic, that more and more investors are looking for nearshoring investment opportunities. Moldova can be one of the options here. And the third point, we also have an office in Kiev. I also go there very often, usually from Chisinau. I first fly here and then I go by car to Kiev. And I do have also a couple of clients who tell me what is a good location from where outside of Ukraine you can set up a kind of logistics hub. This was also one of the considerations where I believe that Moldova might be interesting for that. What is the one point that surprised me? Maybe this will surprise you now as well. What I, as a German citizen, when I go into a supermarket in Germany and I purchase a bottle of wine, you get French, Italian, Spanish. You also could get Moldovan wine, but this was considered of very low quality. What really surprised me when I came here, what great wine you get locally here. I think this could be a great export product, and Moldova should probably do more to export the great wine that you have here to all over the world. This would be a great marketing tool also to attract further investments.
No, thank you for this. As somebody with the exposure to the wine business warms my heart to hear this. Thank you for the feedback. Ionut?
Well, for us in Romania, it's only natural to come here to Moldova because we have been in a very close relation throughout all the history. However, looking from Bucharest towards Chisinau, we can see that Moldova is taking pretty the same path that Romania has taken, with all also the good and the bad that come with this. And this means that we see in Moldova basically the same opportunities that other investors saw in Romania in the pre-EU accession period. So in terms of availability of talent, in terms of being the first in the market, in terms of capital allocation and returns, the returns that could be made in Romania in the pre-accession period should and will be available to the investors, to the first investors that come in Moldova in this period. And talking about what great surprise we found over here, I'm not here to make politics, but I saw Natalia over here and Minister Alaiba. The most important aspect was how friendly the Moldovan government is to the investors, how friendly the Moldovan institutions are with the foreign investors, and coming from Bucharest, that is very, very striking, a difference that strikes you the most.
Thank you. That's very encouraging.
You know, in comparison, my colleagues from this panel, we are insiders. We know what's going on in Moldova, in good sense, in bad sense. But what has amazed me in the last few years, it's openness of minds of locals for innovation and new type of entrepreneurial approach. Besides all these, you know, PR companies like us, there is hundreds, even not thousands, of business initiatives in Moldova in many, many fields, from high-tech to the basic things which we need as a consumer. And this encouraged me to believe in Moldova, to believe in the business, in development of this country.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sturza. One thing that maybe I can add to the group, sorry, taking a position of a panelist here, is that one thing that would surprise many people in Moldova is actually the cost of capital, which is very low. Actually, we benchmarked it, and the cost of debt in Moldova is lower than in Romania at the moment. It's lower than in Poland at the moment. So you can have a corporate loan in Moldova at mid to high single digits percentage points in local currency, and you get it at about 4 percentage points in foreign exchange, in euro or dollars, which I think is something that has plagued us for very long, but finally Moldova has, given the low inflation, Moldova also has low cost of capital. Okay, so the next question I'd like to ask all of you is, What are your learnings? And maybe the learnings is an euphemism for, okay, what challenges have you encountered, and what maybe in that spirit, like, what is your advice to people, other investors exploring an investment here? Maybe we'll stay with you, Mr. Sturza, just to change the word a little bit.
Well, the biggest challenge, of course, it's accessible, good, educated workforce. To be honest, Moldova, there is a shortage of workforce, and there is illusion now to come to Moldova that just to chase for some, cheap labor. Even in our case, we start to invest in Kalarash, in our factories, together with our partners in high-end technology. From white sides, we want to eliminate, as soon as possible, human interference in our technology. From our sides, from our other sides, it's very difficult, even if you need just 5-10 engineers to find outside of the Chisinau. And we offer European salaries. We offer conditioned Europeans. This is the main pro. Second, to be honest, there is we just listen very optimistic report or opinion from our government about infrastructure. We still have a huge problem with electricity due to the very poor system of our grid. And we have a serious problem with our interconnection with European road system. Interconnection is almost blocked, if not all the time, but most of the time, in our customs in between Moldova and Romania. There is a lot of problem which we face as investors, despite the local or international, but what encouraged me is this attitude of the government. They want to solve this problem. They open to discuss, to dialogue, and if you are really serious investors, you have a serious intention, you can get any support from the government.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this input, Ionut.
One thing that we are very happy with is the commitment that we have seen here in Moldova towards EU accession and towards staying on this path, and that is something that we really hope will not change after next year. And although we are we see very great commitment towards this path, we are not thinking that this accession process will end extremely soon. But for this part, I would say to our Moldovan friends, enjoy this process and try to reap the benefits of this process, because at this moment, Moldova has a great opportunity by being not in and not outside the European Union. We are looking at another Iron Curtain from a commercial point of view that is about to close due to the tariff war that started with the Trump administration and that is going to continue. We are looking at an Iron Curtain that will make it very difficult to trade with China, and that is something that will put Moldova in, and already has put Moldova in a very good place, because doing business here gives you all the advantages of being linked to the European Union and being able to export to the European Union without tariffs, and also being able to import from China and from other countries without trade barriers. So enjoy the ride, enjoy the process, and for however long it will take to get in the European Union, build on these advantages and take full advantages of them, because this will make you, will put you in a much better position once you are inside the European Union.
No, thank you, Onut. By the way, excellent point. I think the one maybe concern I hear from talking to local businessmen is this fear that European Union will come with tremendous benefits, but will also come with a regulatory burden, which is maybe we are not fully ready for. And I agree with you. What the feedback I keep getting is that the longer we can extend, you know, the adoption of all these regulation is, and maybe leverage a little bit the regulatory arbitrage while getting the benefits, like the better for the business here. So in that sense, I totally echo what you're saying.
Yes, because there is the lesson that you can learn from Romania, because in some of the areas we managed to negotiate longer periods of transition, but in other areas we failed to do so, and that has hit our economy in various ways after 2007.
Thank you, Onut. What to you, Wolf?
Yeah, maybe 2 points I would like to add. The first one, I agree to principally all these points, but I see in addition for those who have the intention to come with investments to Moldova to set up manufacturing, production, one of the first questions that clients then ask me, do we find a reliable supplier structure locally? I think this is something where Moldova, like many other countries in the world as well, who attract investors, should well work on, because foreign investors are usually looking for reliable, high quality suppliers who promise a certain delivery output on a high quantity and quality for a long period in advance. So this is something I think where beside working on attracting foreign investors to well support the small and mid-sized local business is as important, is also a good marketing tool to attract foreign investors. I would like to address one of the points that was mentioned already, the difficulty to find workforce locally. I remember 2 talks that I had that I found most interesting, where people told me when you are looking for workforce and managers for Moldova, place your job ad in Germany, in Holland, in France, and in Russia. And you may find the right people who would like to come back to their home country. From my own experience, I can say this is a good strategy to find proper workforce.
Thank you. Thank you for this, Wolf. And Igor, what to you?
I think my colleagues, everything already repeat what I would like to say, but however, yeah, one of the biggest maybe challenges is the migration of the population. We have around in the year 600,000 people which are seasonally going abroad in Europe, something work there, coming back, and this is maybe the one of the biggest focus what we needed to keep them here and to bring their knowledges, because they learning everything. So this is, I think, one of the major, let's say, challenge of the every investors. I speaking from point of view of production of industry, because here we needed to engage more people, assembling, creation, whatever it is. And I think second topic, it will be a stability of political situation as well. Because every investor wants guarantee that if you are open one, I don't know, manufacture plant, you would like to have a guarantee of 10, 15 years. That means that the regulation, tax regulation, everything would need to be stable. And if it's changed from every election, nobody wants to challenge that. So this is 2 challenges what faced every investor. So from this point of view, I think we have enough capability to achieve.
No, thank you. Thank you. Excellent points. And here I have to give credit for the current government. Actually, you know, they came, they replaced this old elites, old government, but they did keep for example, the fiscal principle. So we still have the 12% corporate income tax. We have a 12% flat income tax on personal income. So I have to give credit to them. They try to ensure some continuity in terms of the fiscal approach. Okay, so look, I'll have some individual questions now, and then I also ideally would leave some time for questions from the audience. So Ulf, maybe I'll start with you. You're in business services, and you're present in, if I heard it correctly, 15 markets or so with 500 people. So you must have some pattern recognition in terms of the evolution of each country. So what is your plot prediction for Moldova's evolution over the next 5 to 10 years, and where do you think the most opportunities are going to be for investors?
I indeed find this point, what Igor just mentioned, is the stability very important. Political stability does not mean that you all the time have only one government, but it may change. But important is that indeed there is a certain stability independently from what is the current government. What my own vision, but that's a personal vision that I have, is I would see a country like Moldova like a bridge country that is open in all directions and that may bring many neighbors, and not only neighbors who are direct neighbors, but also who are a little bit further away, to be a kind of attraction point where even countries that may not fully understand each other at the moment and that maybe have political conflicts between each other, that maybe Moldova could be here a kind of country that brings others together. I think this could give a very interesting image also for investors to the country. I think my second vision is, I remember when I was a student 35 years ago, my professor in economics told us, watch out for the Asian tiger states, Taiwan, South Korea, and the others. They developed very well. I think for Moldova it would be very interesting to look at them and look back how they managed this, how they managed the last 30 years to really grow to a world marketplace that has high quality manufacturing and export into all the countries in the world. I would not say that Moldova right away has the same possibilities, but to work in this direction, I think this would make a lot of sense. What are the maybe 3-4 major criteria, I would say, countries like Taiwan, South Korea, Singapore, what maybe they looked at in their development. So it is this political stability that you had, it's the openness of a country. I mean, Taiwan also was for a long time a rather closed, politically closed country that then opened its doors in indeed also many directions. South Korea, I would say the same. It is you need to motivate the workforce to, ideally you would have a kind of agreement within society that the taxi driver to the president, that all people have one vision in mind. This, I think, when I look at, for instance, I was several times in Taiwan, what I had the impression, this is what all the people, they have this one aim, this one goal, this one vision for the entire country. So this, I think, if you try to look a little bit like learnings from these countries, this, I think, could give Moldova a very interesting perspective for the future to become a world-class marketplace for manufacturing, for bringing people of different nations together. I don't think a model like Switzerland is realistic to stay 100% neutral. Switzerland had a very specific development, but I think it's more like look at these Asian tigers and maybe Moldova could become the new European champion. Why not?
Yeah, very, very exciting vision for the country. You see the audience supports you, so thank you for that. Igor, a question to you. So look, many may not know it, but automotive is the #1 export segment for Moldova. A surprise to many, you know. So about 20% of our exports are in the automotive cluster, if I'm not wrong. But historically, the main driver of these exports has been cheap labor force, right? That's why we have lots of cabling and things like this that require manufacturing, right? Labor-intensive manufacturing. Now, with the salaries rising, what's our chance as a country to go up market and do more value-add stuff in the automotive space, like Magnetech is doing?
That's true. We are not anymore the cheaper country in labor force. Even we are still in region one of them, because we have a last 2 years economical crisis, energy crisis, whatever crisis existing, and this is making an impact to, of course, salary. Medium salary was rise doubled actually, so we have from 7,000 something like this to, and this makes us not anymore, let's say, concurrent in the field. But we have actually any advantages. Like, as I already mentioned, we are still capable to make our logistics costs much more better as in usually countries. But firstly, we need to do something good. I mean, in this way. So we need to open this Giurgiuleș port to make him international. Actually, he's international name, but we need to use them because now what we are bringing the materials in Romania, in Bulgaria, and then we transport it to Moldova. This makes costs higher. And what we need is to use our possibilities, what we have. This is, I think, one of the very big advantage which we can achieve. But from the point of view of qualified labor force, this is, we already applied to some advantage what Moldova provide you, as like example, as a dual learning. You can prepare your engineers or technicians or whatever it is, if you hire them in the beginning of the study. So they are half of year they are present at your location, they are learning how to do the things, and half of year they are staying in the universities or technical colleges, whatever them, and they are learning. So this is one of the possibility to have sustainable system of qualified labor force.
Yeah, that's it's something that we have been saying for years, that we need to learn from Germany on this apprenticeship model, and finally, I think we made some progress on that note. Maybe I'll jump to Mrs. Turza. So one selling point, and Ulf mentioned it too, that for us here is that Moldova could be kind of a bridgehead into Ukraine reconstruction. So kind of safer, smaller, simpler, easier to do business country, and take advantage of the imminent reconstruction there whenever it's going to happen, hopefully very soon. So I know that was part of TerraPlast's strategy when acquiring Palplast, the company you founded. So tell us more. What is the opportunity there?
Yes, we entered in this partnership with TerraPlast. They acquired half of the company in ideas to be ready for reconstruction, first of all, of Moldova, because we produce pipelines for many purposes, including gas supplies, water supplies, many industrial and private usage. And we hope this European integration movement will be open the opportunity for us to supply, first of all, locals with local production, high-class quality, and local assistance. Of course, Ukraine is our next target. Let's hope the war will be end in the condition of our friends from Ukraine as soon as possible. And of course, we have a huge advantage in comparison maybe even with Romanians. We know very well this region. We have a lot of friends, business relation. We are not afraid about this market. We hope in Ukraine with less bureaucracy and corruption. And Moldova, even in this period, after starting of war, play a significant role to supply Ukraine with fuel, to help Ukrainians to export grain from Ukraine. A lot of refugees are in Moldova. They open the business. They start to build this relation, and I think Moldova will play significant role in at least in this south part of Ukraine in this reconstruction effort. Besides the fact, some Moldovan officials are a little bit afraid because this will be created some tension in business in Moldova. Will be, increasing of some costs, some prices, will be, you know, some of our employees will move to Ukraine. This is a theoretical approach. I think the benefit will be much bigger than some possible disadvantage.
Thank you for this optimistic take. Look, last question before we go to the audience, but sorry, I lost track of time a little bit. Natalia, please signal to us if we are late and tell us like how we're doing on time. Maybe you hurry us up if we're going too slow. So, Ionuț, a bit of the same question, and let me tell you what I would appreciate your perspective on. So, when I talk to potential investors to Moldova, and very often they say like, look, it's too small a market, we're not interested. And then I say like, look, don't think of us as a 3 million people market, including Transnistria. Like, think of us as a 23 million market, because Romania is an extension of our domestic market. We're so integrated with Romania that you can treat Romania as an extension of Moldovan domestic market. Does it sound to you like a valid value proposition for investors? Can they look at Moldova as a gateway to Romania, a 20 times larger economy?
Yes, and also not necessarily. I will build a bit on what Mr. Sturza said. I listened 1 hour ago the energy minister speaking about the investments that will be made in the thermal insulation of the buildings in Moldavia. Probably many of you don't know, but Moldova is paying the highest price in heating the buildings in all of Europe. So this is one of the main reasons that we decided to build in Moldova a paints factory, because what we say in Romania should apply also here. We are saying that the investments that the Moldavian government is going to make should stay in Moldova and should support Moldavian business. So we are building a factory here to produce paints that will be used in this process in Moldova, because we want to support this economy and not only the Romanian economy. Also, in terms of investing in Moldova and keeping track of the Moldovan market at the private equity level, one level above Roca Industry, we are also relevant in Romania in terms of medical and in terms of energy. And I was again very glad to hear the energy minister talking about the plans for investment in their network here and in the solar parks over here, and hopefully after the meetings that I still have today in Chișinău, we will be one step closer towards entering the Moldovan markets also in the energy and medical sectors. However, going back to your idea of Moldova as an export country, I would say that Moldova, in terms of exports, is fighting with the Balkan states, because it's fighting with the other, as I previously said, the other non-EU countries that have similarities. And in terms of export, Moldova has one big disadvantage. It's over 1,000 kilometers farther to Western Europe than the Balkan countries, and most of the distance goes through Romania, which is an even higher disadvantage. But Moldova is very close to Ukraine, and as there are similarities between Romania and Moldova, there are also similarities, cultural similarities between Moldova and Ukraine. And we see Moldova as a very, very good potential gate towards Ukraine more than towards Romania. Also, in terms of, you asked about the reconstruction of Ukraine, we are holding off only building materials. So we are looking towards entering Ukraine mostly throughout Moldova. We have 2 factories, building another one, and looking towards all the other.
Thank you, Ionuț, for this insightful answer. Look, we have about 1 minute left, so I think it was quite an upbeat take from the panelists today. You know, so the tiger metaphor by wolf and what we can do. Then we had 2 players in the construction materials field that see opportunities both in East and West with the Ukrainian construction and the export to Western Europe and Central Eastern European markets. And I think an encouraging one from Igor that even with a more expensive intensive labor, we still are competitive in some sectors in higher value-add products. So that was quite exciting. I'm not sure if there's like somebody who feels very, very strong about asking a question from the audience. Absent any questions, I think we've done great on time, 9, 8, 7, 6. So almost one-to-one met the timeline allocated for this. Thank you very much, panelists, for this exciting take on Moldova. Thank you for the audience for paying attention. And yeah, thank you, Natalia, for putting together such a great program. So thank you very much.
Merci. Actually, with this, on this positive note, we are concluding just the opening event, so we just started. Thank you very much for everyone for being engaged. Thank you to the panel that we just observed for the insights that they gave you. I hope that the events that follow within the next hours and within the next days will bring even more certainty to those thinking or flirting with the idea to start a business in Moldova, to be more prepared, sure that this is a place where you can have successful businesses and where you can bring value not only for Moldova but also for the world. And since we have here Dumitru Alaiba, because you are here, the Deputy Prime Minister, I still want to invite you on stage. I know we didn't stage this, but just to say bye to everyone, because thank you for being the whole event with us. Can we have one more microphone, please? Colleague, I know that we didn't stage this. I just want you to also say goodbye to everyone, because you've stayed with us for the whole event, and because you are, the Ministry of Economy in general is an extremely important partner, not only to Invest Moldova, but to the investors as well, in their path of accessing the market and making sure that this is a market open for the investment. So you can just say bye and that's it.
Bye and that's it. No. I would like to, if there is one thing I would like to do, is to thank the colleagues from Invest Moldova for pulling off something like this. This is a really amazing event. This is really intense. It's going to be an entire week of conversation. So really thank you, Natalia, and each and every one of you for the hard work that you do. Really, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.